Hello, my name is Stephen Alf, and welcome back to AlffBooks. Today I'm here with my brother Jonathan, and we
Hi,
are
people.
here to do a live about starting a new channel. So my brother just started a channel a week ago, and we will be talking about what that's like. So we'll be seeing what he thinks of what kind of has been the main hurdles and the main things he's noticed in the first week of making videos on YouTube. So pass on, well, talking to you. What do you think? What are your first things to say?
Okay, so the main first thing that the main obstacle that I had to uploading videos in general was my lack of knowledge of editing. It's something that seems very boring, at least before one knows anything about it for sure. So that was probably the first main obstacle for me ever starting anything. I had, for example, tried to record covers and tried to edit them using, well, the simplest softwares that I knew, which was mainly Audacity, uh, which was, yeah, one of the simplest ones. And every time I recorded anything, I'd edit for maybe 10 minutes and then I just trash the cover of what I had because it was just, I wasn't satisfied with what I was doing. Um, and so, yeah, I always wanted to upload a cover of me singing. And so I thought, well, look, the only way I can do it that I'm absolutely sure that I will actually start and then hold myself accountable to doing that and then in the process learn editing is if I actually start without editing, which the pretty much one of the only ways to do that is to live stream. It's a good excuse to not have to edit, but it is a very handy way to upload a video um, and to not have to worry about editing. And the other thing that's good with live streaming is that you have the input from other people, which is always a very good thing to have. So yeah, that's first thoughts.
Yeah, I agree. Input from other people can be very interesting, especially at the start, because it gives you an idea of, um, well, both what they think is interesting and what you can do then starting out. But I think as well, what is important when you're starting is that you maybe take a step back from what people say and just try something just to try it, because you're clock, you're at a point where you you have very few people maybe watching, but also that means you have the most opportunity to just try whatever you want to see what works for you.
Yeah. The other thing that I have thought about is one kind of doesn't realize as much when one isn't doing the video is it is so important to script it, even if one doesn't follow the script word for word or anything like that. Like I've written down firstly all the song covers that I was in the comments that I was asked to cover. That's the first list that seems very obvious to make. The other list, the other things that I was writing down is just a general thing of what do I want to say in this video in 3, 4, 5 points, whatever amount of points that you have to put across. And the thing is, you might not get it right immediately. You'll record once and then you'll just cringe at yourself and you'll trash that first recording, but you will have an idea. And after 1, 2, 3 recordings, or even more. Like one of the recordings recently, it took me about 10 tries, 10 times hitting the record button before I actually had one that I was madly happy with. But you will, over time, you will get exactly what you want over, and you will also do it quicker, which,
Mm.
depending on what you're trying to film, you don't want to have to continuously blab about something if you know that it's just a very straightforward message. So yeah.
Sometimes I find that maybe filming something over and over is maybe not the best idea, because you at some point you're just going to have filmed the same thing so many times that you won't have gotten to the point where you actually shared it. And at some point there's I think it's the um, you basically, if you reach 80% of how good it can be, you don't need to, like, what is the saying is the last 20% is 80% of the work to get to 100% when you've already got 80% of the quality. So of the Mac, well, as good as it can be. So it's not worth it to get it that close to perfect, because firstly, perfect, especially for something creative, is just very subjective. So I think Hank Green was actually making a video about this recently. It was quite interesting to see what he had to say about it. But really, I think the most important thing is sometimes to just throw yourself out there and try something. It might work out really well, and it might not work out perfectly, but that's the way it is, and you'll learn from whatever happens. I just see a comment there from Flynn. Hello, thanks for joining us. When you have the right program, editing them is really nice. So yeah, I totally agree. When you get something that really works, then you can really do whatever you want. So if that's flipping the video or just adding pictures on top or effects, that can be really fun. But obviously at the start, it's just about cutting something up and making it enjoyable to watch, and also maybe just fun little things to add in, which is always nice. And so here, giving an example. For example, NCH Video Pad is really pleasant compared to Movie Maker, for example. Well, Movie Maker, personally, I mean, I find it's not very pleasant to use. It does the job at first, if that's all you have, and it definitely is better than nothing. But that's nice to know that there's this one out there which is, I'm guessing, simple enough to use, but still better than Movie Maker. And hello, Bram. So you're saying, hope you guys are well. Wish you all the best with starting your own channel. So that's for you, Jonathan. And oh, Catherine is saying, Jalfi room around you is quite dark, although you're visible. AlffBooks, your forehead's a little shiny, lights a little bright. Well, yeah, we do what we can with what we have, and these lights are, yeah, a bit strong, but I've been trying to get rid of that shine, and it's just not working, so. Flynn saying, we all start out with Movie Maker unless you have a Mac. Yes. I started out with Windows Movie Maker, and that was, well, I mean, at the time it was all that I had, so it was perfectly fine, and it worked, and it did what I needed. I didn't really have too much idea of what could be done at that point with editing. I just thought that a lot of it was almost magic to a certain extent, that it just happened for the people that work perfectly. And the more you try, the more you see, oh, okay, that's actually done this way. And the more you try something, the more you can do things like set presets. So setting presets is actually really interesting, because you then, say you're correcting some footage. So if you're always filming the same place and you notice, okay, this footage is really slightly red or slightly green looking, then you can actually edit the color with color correction, and then you can save that as a preset. So when you film there the next time, you can immediately just choose that setting, and then the color just looks better. Now, obviously, that's not something you can do with Windows Movie Maker, but when you get, well, when you're lucky enough to have something that works better, or when you find something that works better, then you can do those kind of things. So that makes it a lot faster when you get to that point. Yeah. So you were saying, Jonathan, so you've been doing live streams, and how do you find that the live stream compares? Like, you did one yesterday, well, no, sorry, today, and you did one last week. So how do you find that those two compare? The first one you did, you just started out, so there wouldn't have been anyone knowing your channel.
Yeah.
How did that compare? How did you feel starting the first live stream versus starting the second live stream, when you maybe knew there were some people around?
Okay, so the way my first live stream worked, I posted around half an hour after my first video on the channel at all. And so basically when I was actually live streaming, I live streamed for about 20 minutes, maybe like, of which like 3 or 4 minutes were talking, explaining things and stuff like that, because I want to make my general, like the idea that I had behind the channel and making these live streams, I wanted to put that across. And so that was the main and first thing that I was doing. It was trying to put that across, and then singing a couple of songs so that people would kind of like understand, okay, what kind of a voice does he have? What's the audio? What's that, etc. So there's a couple of things that I was hoping for, not in the live stream, because I wasn't expecting anybody to show up for my first live stream. But after that, in comments, okay, is the lighting good? Is the sound good? What could you give me? Basically, my first live stream was more of a searching for constructive criticism than actually trying to live stream for anything else. So that was my first live stream, and that's one of the other reasons I didn't even feel stress. Although I was live, I didn't feel any stress. And it's not that there was nobody watching, therefore I didn't feel stress. I wasn't looking at how many people were watching. I just I was trying to explain things, so I didn't feel like I was like putting something really personal out there. I was more explaining stuff. Whereas today's live stream, I felt a little more nervous at times, because, well, some of those songs I really do like them, and I wanted to do them as well as possible. Problem is when one is nervous, or when one doesn't remember the tune because one is nervous, or things like that. That doesn't help to stay calm and stay relaxed, kind of to try and cover a song properly.
Yeah.
So that was the main thing that was the difference between both live streams, apart from the fact that there were actually people watching the second time. It was the nervousness kind of kicked in between the first and the second one. So yeah, that was the main difference, I'd say.
Okay. Yeah. Well, when I did my first live stream, I was basically just unsure of what to do. So my first live stream was actually for my 6th-year anniversary on YouTube. So a bit of a different background, where I've already made videos. I'm kind of used to being in front of the camera, talking to the camera. And the only difference was I wasn't really sure about the setup, and I didn't want it to mess up. That was my main thing, because I'd gotten better at editing, so I wanted things to kind of be, yeah, work out well and look, well, good enough, you know? And so I kind of was stressing before the first live stream, but then the second live stream was like, yes, let's do this. This is great. And now this is the third one, and I'm really liking doing these, because it's really nice to have the interaction, the chat. So yes, hello, Creative Crystal reads and writes. I saw your message. I'm just looking at chat there. So yes, Jonathan, you looked really serious in your first live stream, and you did actually look more relaxed today. I did follow it, and that was pretty cool. Yeah, and ooh, okay, what's this comment from Flynn? If you don't like editing very much, maybe you can establish a bit of an audience with covers. You could put bits in the end saying that you want to do live streams on the channel. Yeah.
Yeah, it does kind of it's similar to the idea I had. Basically, the editing, it's not something that I have right now. I don't know how to edit right now, apart from extremely basic editing. But like that it isn't enough to, like, if I tried to edit my videos right now, I would never upload them, because I would just never be happy with what I have, because although I have not like been a YouTuber per se for a long time, I have been watching a lot of YouTube videos, and I have been pretty critical of different things to try and understand, like, what makes this video really good, why do I enjoy this video this much. And a lot of the time, that little thing that makes a big difference is the editing. And obviously, the better your editing skills, the more likely that is to make a difference. So that was the reason why it kind of kept me back, is because I knew how important editing is, and therefore I was like, yeah, but I can't, so I can't upload then.
I think you're putting too much importance on editing. Editing is not that important, and especially at first, your first few videos are never going to be perfect. So whether you edit them at all, edit them a little, I think Flynn's comment here is actually perfect. She says, Tessa Violet gives very good advice about nervousness. The only way to practice performing is to perform. So you really only can fight with the nervousness by doing it anyway. And I think the same thing applies for editing. If you don't try editing, you're not going to get better at editing. And so you just won't get better at it. So you really need to try. And whether you upload those videos that you're editing at first or not, it is important to try. You just open the software, throw in everything you have. You'll see there's the trim button, there's the cut button. Just those buttons are going to be there, and then you just mess around with them, see what happens. If a clip disappears, you can just backtrack. There's a back button anyhow. And if you are doing it and you like something you've done, don't forget to save. Save every so often while you're doing it, because if it closes on you and you haven't saved, then you can't backtrack that. That's just one of those things that it's hard to backtrack in that case. But it is interesting to still just mess around with the software, see what you can do, because you really can learn a lot just by messing around with it. At first, that is the main thing to do, and yeah, just open it, try it out. It's the same thing as the performing. It's the same thing as just posting a YouTube video. Trying is really more than half the battle. You've done it then, and then you just do it again until you're really happy with it. Like when I look back at my first video, it wasn't edited. I think I cut one thing out, and what I did was I cut it out, but then I unsynchronized the audio from the video. So for the second half of the video, the audio was slightly off from the actual visual. You know, those kind of things are things you learn, and you're like, okay, I won't do that again, because I faded in the image, but I didn't fade in the audio. So the audio started abruptly immediately, but the image only started slightly delayed. And those kind of small details that you don't even consider at first because it doesn't cross your mind is it's just one of those things.
Control Z is your friend.
yeah, no, absolutely. Control Z. I mean,
Flynn, nice point.
And Control S as well, which is save. Control S is also good friend. So just every so often, Control S. Don't mix them up though. It's like, oh, I like what I've done. Control Z. Oh no. Control S, save. Control Z, backtrack.
Yeah.
Pretty sure. Yeah. I personally don't use that shortcut as often. I just like pressing on the arrow at the top. But yeah.
For me personally, like, yes, I was nervous in the live stream today in certain songs. There was one of the songs especially where I was like petrified. I was looking at the lyrics because I just adamantly didn't want to get it wrong. So like the thing is, because I was looking at the lyrics to make sure that I didn't get the lyrics wrong. And that, so because I had the lyrics on my phone, I was obviously looking down. So I was kind of avoiding contact, and I was conscious of it. It's not something that I want to do, and it's something that I will be trying to go against as much as possible. But the thing is, like, nervousness is something I don't have it like in everyday life. Going over to strangers and stuff like that, I don't have it for that. It was mainly because I'm saying probably, but I'm pretty sure that is the reason why. Because I wanted to upload videos on YouTube for a while, the fact that I delayed it by a long time, as far as like me wanting to do it is concerned, because of that, when I actually got to it, I did feel a little more nervous, because I'm kind of thinking like, will I do as well as I want myself to do for this video? Will I succeed in like representing in doing justice to a specific cover? Because one of the songs that I really liked that I did in the live stream today was "Rolling in the Deep" by Adele, and I practiced that before. That was the only one of the songs that I practiced before the live stream multiple times, because it is a harder song to sing, and because it is a really, as far as I feel, it's a really nice song. So I really wanted to get that one right. But when I actually sang it, that was not the one where I was nervous, because I felt like I couldn't really, like, as far as vocally a cappella is concerned, obviously, I didn't feel like I could do much better in a live stream, or at least not at this present stage. So I didn't feel nervous for that one. But there are certain parts of the video, for example, where I did feel more nervous. But yes, in general, it's not something that I have to fight with a lot, nervousness. But there, it definitely did kick in from time to time. So, yeah.
Yeah, the comment of
practice does make perfect.
At least better. I agree with the at least better, because as we were saying before, we shouldn't maybe necessarily strive for perfection, because otherwise we might never post anything. And one thing that was very interesting, that was I think it was Hank Green said it, I'm not sure again, but basically, very important thing to note is you are the only person, or I guess your creative team, but you are the only person who knows what you have created, but also all the other things you have filmed for it, or the other ways it could have gone, your other ideas for some project. So if you wanted to do something in editing or in filming and it just didn't work out, you know that. but the person watching the video, when they click on it or watching whatever it is that you've created, or look like drawing, painting, pretty much the same thing, but music, video, whatever it is, you've seen what it could look like, but the people who are just watching in will see, okay, this is the end product. This is what I'm seeing. Okay, that's cool. They might not even notice that little detail that you're like, oh, I didn't really like that specific moment. I wanted that to be a bit different. They might not notice it. They probably won't notice it. Yeah. It's
one of the things that because I watched over the live stream from today, because I wanted to make sure that I didn't forget any of the cover suggestions that were given to me in the thing, because unfortunately I closed the live stream down, so I wasn't able to access the comments anymore. So I watched it again to be able to get to the comments. And one thing that I noticed is different parts of the video I actually thought that I made a break, like in what I was saying, for a decent amount of time. They were actually not that significant when I was actually listening to it, like back the second time, kind of thing. And that it did reassure me. So I'll definitely feel more comfortable next Sunday for the third live stream. I'll definitely be way more comfortable in not quite taking my time, but not feeling the kind of necessity to try and like say everything as quickly as possible because you want to fill in blanks or anything like that. Because when you are nervous, the blanks, you feel like they're so much longer than they actually are. So
Absolutely. No, that's really the case, because you really notice it because you're kind of a bit stressed, and then you think, oh no, what am I going to say? And you think that goes on forever, and it's just a split second, and then you go back into it, and you're fine, and practically no one, if anyone, has noticed, because it really was that short, the break. And it's just about, just continue. The more relaxed you are, the more kind of slowly you talk, the more time you give yourself to have breaks. So if I were to just stop talking for a second, then, because I'm talking slowly right now, I can allow it without really there being that much of an issue. But if you're really talking really quickly and then all of a sudden you just like stop and say nothing for a while, you notice it more. Those kind of things. So
it's a flow.
But really, exactly. If you relax, calm down, just let yourself, relax. Then it works well as well.
It's just Flynn's comment. When you've thought about what you're going to say, it will make so much more sense than starting before you know the end of your sentence. That gives the pause a purpose. I definitely do agree with that. For example, in this video, this live stream is a discussion, and so a pause in this video is less worrying in a way, and can be way more significant than a pause in a song when one is trying to do a cover. And then the reason why the pause can be even more like source of nervousness in, for example, the live stream I did earlier today, is because it's a cappella. So I don't have the music to reassure me that there's something kind of filling in the blank. But in a discussion video, there isn't, at least supposed to be initially, any music or any sound cover, like filling it in, because you're actually trying to listen to the words and exactly what is being said. And there's a whole like thought process behind it that kind of is reassuring when you are talking, because you don't feel as much pressure to fill in all the blanks.
Another comment there that's interesting is perfect is impressive, but human, capable of making mistakes, is often more interesting. I think that's a very interesting comment there, because
I do totally agree.
That way, it's just, I mean, perfection, but it doesn't seem as human. If you're there and you're like, oh yeah, that's I would make that mistake too in that position. I would also accidentally say the wrong word or completely mix something up, and if you can connect more with that, it also makes it more human, more interesting, in the sense that people are like, oh yeah, that's me too. And I find that is definitely more, if not as interesting, if not more interesting. There again, trying to put sentences in the wrong order. But no, definitely.
Yeah.
Words of sentences in the wrong order. Even there, again. No, it's really not a problem to just take a moment, and even if something does go wrong, you can laugh it off, shrug it off, and it just makes it sometimes more interesting. Just, I guess, showing humanity. You don't want to be coming across as a robot, maybe, especially if you're doing covers or something where I guess the song's emotion is just as important as the quality of the singing. And even then, if the singing's less impressive, perfect, if the emotion is there, the connection is there as well.
Yeah, for like that actually made me think. There's a song that, like, as far as my baccalaureate, because I entered my secondary school in France. So as far as my baccalaureate was concerned, I had an exam that was music, and part of that exam was an oral part, and then there was either singing or presenting an instrument, or both together. Now, in my case, I was singing, and the thing is, the song I chose to sing was Scorn Not His Simplicity, the version from Luke Kelly. Now, that song is an extremely emotional song about a handicapped child, and the fact that, like, yes, the child is simple, but you should accept that child the way it is. It's a very, very emotional song, and therefore it's a very a complex song to get right. So, like, for example, it's one of the songs, like, I have lyrics, screenshots of lyrics of a bunch of songs, and one of those songs is that one. I have lyrics for that song, and it's one song that I want to cover, but I know that it's one of those songs that I want to get perfectly right, because it's such an important song. It's the same reason why, for example, in the live stream, Stephen, you were saying about Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody. It's such a beautiful and amazing song. I want, like, if I were to cover that, well, when I cover that, I will want to get that absolutely right, because it's one of those songs you really want to strive to make it as good as you can, so that, yes, okay, it might not be perfect. Yes, the original or whomever's version could be better, but at least you can then say, yep, but at least at that time, that was the best I could have done. And that's the idea of, like, yeah, it mightn't be perfect, but that can make it way more endearing to know, like, that was something special.
Yeah. Well, what I found really interesting about, say, the song Bohemian Rhapsody, you mentioned that it's such a beautiful song that you want to get perfect. But when I think of Bohemian Rhapsody, I think of singing it with friends, and not necessarily getting it right, but having an amazingly fun time to sing it with people. And whether that's in a club, in a pub, at home with a group of friends, it's just being able to just share it. I find that song, to me, is more of a song you sing with other people, a song that everyone knows, and that
definitely.
No one really cares that much when you're singing it with other people. If you're singing it right or wrong, it's just all about, that song and it being around you in some sense. And so to me, if it's sung perfectly or not, to me it's less important, but it's what's the message behind this group of people singing it? Are we singing it to be perfect? Are we singing it to just show that we're having an amazing time? And I was just looking at the comment there by Flynn, which is, making mistakes is so much more relatable. So it's what we had earlier as well, the idea of that. And do you want people to hear you sing and think you're a star, or do you want them to see you as accessible and real? And it is really important to just, well, I guess it depends on the context, but most of the time, I want to be seen as a real person, someone you can just come up to, talk to, and whether I've just covered a song amazingly or whether I've just covered a song and there were a few mistakes in it, but it was fun, Yeah. It's really cool. So, yeah.
That's something like Catherine said, do your best, learn from your mistakes or imperfections, but don't take yourself too seriously. The last part, the don't take yourself too seriously, is especially important in humor, because if you take yourself too seriously, half the jokes you will never get them. So that's something in general, because I value humor a lot. So so if you take yourself too seriously, that's something that it's something that one really should work at to not to make oneself look ridiculous and accept it kind of thing, but to not feel too bad about being ridiculous. Thinking like, yeah, maybe didn't look at my best at that point, but well, like whatever kind of thing. I can't do much about that, so well, I'll just roll with it kind of thing. Even like one of the best ways to deal with something, because obviously people will point out the fact that you might have made a mistake, is to not make a pun, but make a joke about yourself, to kind of get yourself not quite against yourself, but to say basically, yeah, that's something I did. Well, whatever, that happened, and kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a very important thing to do.
I like Flynn's comment. Bohemian Rhapsody is the perfect spontaneous flash mob song because everyone knows it. And yes, I mean,
yeah,
it's just perfect for that. I know that I was at karaoke with a group of friends, and we were going through different songs, and I think I was lucky enough. I was actually the one who picked the last song, and I was just like, yes, Bohemian Rhapsody. So it just lifted the mood, because there'd been a few songs before that not everyone knew, so a few people were singing and others were kind of losing interest, and then Bohemian Rhapsody and everyone just sung it. It was just an amazing time. So yeah. Yeah, there's a comment there for you. Hey Jonathan,
yep,
are you
I'm
a
answering.
songwriter and composer as well as a singer?
I'm answering that right now in comments.
Well, you can also tell us, you know, for people who want to see the chat after. Okay,
I'm a human, unprofessional singer and professional imbecile. That's basically what I
am. Well, that's one description, I guess. Okay, Catherine, it was great to have you in the chat, and hopefully see you again next time. So
yeah, see you around. Bye. Cheers.
And oh yeah, also hello, Spencer's Library. Nice to have you in chat.
Yeah, I think that is the best way I can describe myself.
Human, yes, I agree with that.
Unprofessional singer.
Well,
at least for now.
I think unprofessional is probably the wrong word, because
yeah, okay.
There's a difference between unprofessional and hobby singer or
amateur.
It is currently 10 o'clock here. The clock is informing us of that.
Yay.
So yeah.
Hello, Spencer. So yeah.
So not unprofessional. But like,
yeah, I got what you mean, but yeah, it was more like as a contrast to being professional that I was writing that way. So yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know English words, like.
It's only the language you speak. Yeah. How important is it, really?
Yeah. That's probably like the main thing. Like for like this live stream, I'd say is a good thing to do, because like you start getting used to I'd say like not only interacting with people in front of a camera, because it is weird that like right now not only do I obviously see Stephen in the camera, but I do see myself, and because I'm following chat on my phone, I also see myself when I'm speaking on my phone. And it is a weird thing, but obviously if the more one accepts what Catherine was saying, the fact of not taking oneself seriously, the easier it is to do that, and to like be like, yeah, okay, I'm on camera, but well, that's not the important part, kind of thing. And concentrate on other things that one, like what one is saying, or what another person is asking us in chat or other places. Yeah, it's something that I feel important for live streams.
I'm wondering about the not taking yourself too seriously. If you think about it, it's just well, it's not just really that. It's also the idea of you're there, you're taking part in something, which is not necessarily just being serious or not. It's like you're being yourself, and you've got people there who are commenting and just throwing stuff at you. And then it's a lot of improvisation as well. So to a certain extent, yes, you've got the main ideas and where you want to go with the ideas, like for that live stream. Maybe in our case, it's just started out a channel. What's it like? What's new? What's different? What did you expect? What didn't you expect? Kind of thing. But if it goes off track and we do something else, it could be just as interesting, if not more interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the friend saying, the worst thing you have to get used to when doing YouTube is your own voice and your own face not being mirrored. Just like in general, hearing your own voice repetitively when editing, that's the main reason for me throwing stuff out when I did try to edit. Because you have to get used to it. And like, it's not quite like, obviously you know that you're human, you know that your voice isn't perfect, but you still, especially when you strive to try and make something as good as you can, when you do hear imperfections, when you hear as many as you can hear through editing, you might think that no, that isn't right, I'll try again, but like that recording wasn't the one that I will be using. And then time constraints come in the way and you end up not having the recording at all. But that's a different point.
Well, there's another thing that I find quite interesting about just the voice and face. I find the more you film, the more you edit, the more you get used to editing yourself without really noticing it. Not as in the actual editing, but as in you're filming yourself, you're talking to the camera, and you're noticing small things that you're changing about whatever way you're talking or whatever way you're saying things, or just what you're not saying. And you realize that you're, in a sense, reducing maybe the ums and ahs that you're using in between words, because you're like, oh, they're annoying to edit out. And whether you're doing it actively, which you might be at first, or not, you'll notice that the more you film, the less likely you are to have those kind of irritating noises in between, or pauses that you didn't want to have, or not blanks, because blanks are really easy to cut short. But if you're saying a word, or you're like and then you go into a word that starts with M or something like that, it's sometimes difficult to know where to cut. I find with letters like S, if you have an S at the end of the word and you're straight going to the next word and you're like, oh, I actually want to cut out that sentence, it can be quite irritating. But there's just small things that you don't even notice sometimes, but just by practicing, by filming more, you notice, oh, okay, I've stopped saying that, or I've stopped doing this, which is quite an interesting development to say, in the way you approach making videos. Hello, Rasheen. Good to see you joining us.
The other point, and that's coming back to what I think was Catherine said, something about me looking way more serious in my first video / first live stream. The reason why I was really serious in my first live stream is mainly because there was nobody watching. So I was thinking, look, I have to sing a certain amount of a certain amount of songs, and because there's no input, you know that you kind of have to like keep track of it, like keep it going kind of thing, because you don't want to leave big blanks, because there's no input, you don't even have like interaction to cover the blanks between songs and stuff like that. And then because I had planned a certain amount of songs, I just kind of not quite powered through them, but I was trying to get through them relatively quickly. Okay. To fight the blanks mainly, actually, but yeah.
Yeah, I find, well, what we were saying before about just slowing down a bit, taking a moment to just think, and even if you're not really just saying much, that you're still taking the time to think, and yeah, you don't necessarily have to just jump from one thing to the next. Maybe no one was watching, but that video went up afterwards on the channel, and
yeah, and now it's over 100 views.
People will watch it afterwards, exactly.
Yeah.
And because of that, you notice that, well, in a sense, you could have put a joke in there, or just slow down a bit, because
yeah, it's 123 views.
That's really good, you know.
Yeah, I'm really happy with that.
That's really good, absolutely.
Yeah.
So no,
I was actually really surprised of that. I was not expecting anywhere close to that amount of people to watch my first videos. and that was within the first 48 hours. It hit, I think it hit 100 within the first 48 hours, which, like, yes, of course, when you do like share it with family and things like that, you will get a certain amount of views.
Absolutely.
But like, it's still, as far as like mathematically, it still didn't account for that many views.
No, that's true. No, it is
Which sounds weird, but it is really weird to see certain videos, and like once some of the videos do not do as well. Some of them are expected because they're not as popular songs. So one of the songs that I will be in the next week, or I don't know exactly when, but there's it will be a Katie Melua song. And although, as far as like me and my family are concerned, we have multiple albums by Katie Melua, and she's a singer and songwriter that we absolutely love to listen to. And we remember hearing her on the radio a couple of years back, because one of her main songs, 9 Million Bicycles, was one of the probably her most popular songs on the radio and stuff. But when you do like talk around to it with people, they don't actually they don't know that songwriter, and that's a really weird thing. But because obviously you had a very different experience with that song, but in general, that songwriter. It's such a weird thing.
I find it's one of those things that you really notice. It's the same thing with books. People are very surprised that I haven't finished reading The Hobbit yet, or that I haven't read the Lord of the Rings series. But I've read other books that other people don't know, obviously. Going to school in France, I would have read French authors, French classics that wouldn't have been read in English-speaking countries. But then I only recently read, I only recently read Shakespeare for the first time. I read was Romeo and Juliet, which I didn't find that good, but it was the first time that I read a Shakespeare play. And it's one of those things that it's the same thing with music. You might come across something, you may have heard it, but you may not have read or listened to it. And that makes a difference. But there's so much out there that it's impossible to just know everything. And yeah.
I was laughing at that. Me. Yeah, exactly. That's the comment I was laughing at.
For not finishing The Hobbit. Hey, I am going to finish it. It's not that I've DNF'd it. I've got it on my bedside table, and I will read it. I've
very, like, as far as me, shameful confessions, because for example, one book that I read in first year of secondary school, that's when I started Harry Potter, and I read the first book, then saw the first film, did the same thing for the second book and second film, and read the third book, was absolutely fine with it, and then this is like back 10 years, it's like back a while kind of thing. And watched the third movie, and the werewolf freaked me out. I literally, I just couldn't get my head around it. There's obviously stupid reasons, like, to me, a werewolf was covered in hair, like a wolf kind of thing, and the werewolf in Harry Potter, the movie, didn't have any hair, or hardly any. That was already one detail that kind of weirded me out. But in general, that part of the movie, which is actually, I've completely forgotten, was close to the end of the movie, that freaked me out. So I never actually finished till recently, less than a year ago, I'd say. I never actually finished that movie till last year. So I basically waited something like 8 or something years before finishing that movie, because in my mind, it was really something that was terrifying me. And so for example, right now, I have the 4th book beside my bed, and I still haven't finished it. And it's something that I want to get around to finishing, but it doesn't help that I know the ending of Harry Potter, the series, already, because that's been already spoiled for me. It's another reason why I hate spoiling, people who spoil things for you. But that's one of those books that I really want to finish. I actively look at it and think I have to get to it, but there's different reasons why I just don't, kind of thing. Yeah, Harry Potter spiders, yeah.
The comments there. Performance anxiety is what stopped me from performing music, and the only time I could ever relax while performing was when I was busking on the streets and thought no one was watching. I found that very interesting. That's a comment by Spencer's Library. I could never perform on a street. I mean, I could never, but at the same time, when I'm walking down the street with friends, I might be singing. So it's one of those strange things that if I'm out there specifically to perform, I probably wouldn't be able to do it. But if I'm just walking there, I'll probably be singing while walking down the road. It's strange.
That's one thing that I've noticed. I saw I think it was Carnival Karaoke. So with Ed Sheeran, and Ed Sheeran was saying basically, like, in itself, he feels very uncomfortable even nowadays on stage. And one of the main things that makes him feel comfortable is to have his guitar with him. And the simple fact of having that guitar and holding onto the guitar makes him feel way more comfortable around the place, singing in front of people, in front of a crowd. For me, one of the things I've noticed is when I'm listening to music. So basically, I wear these earphones the whole time. That's why they're in a couple of my videos. But in general, I really enjoy wearing these earphones and earphones in general. Not as much the ones that you put in your ear, but the ones you put on your ear are really nice. And I will literally go around the place, listen to music, and I will sing along. Now, I've no clue, because I have them on, how good I sound when I do sing. A lot of the songs that I listen to are songs that I vocally cannot really sing, which is mostly Eminem and things like that. Not like vocally stuff that I'm not used to singing. I haven't really done much singing of that kind of music, but it's music that I really enjoy. And a couple of days ago, now I'm right now in Ireland studying, but a couple of days ago I was walking and I had the headphones and I was singing pretty audibly, definitely, not quite as loud as I could, but whatever. And there's actually people that kind of like were walking the same direction and pretty much just crossing paths, like passing by me kind of thing. And there's a person that started singing and dancing beside me, just like kind of like with a rhythm kind of thing. I found that hilarious. So like that's the thing, is like for that, it doesn't bother me. I feel way more confident when I've got the earphones on me. That's one reason for wearing them now, but that's not even the point. And so things like that, I will feel absolutely no shame for looking maybe ridiculous at in an instant. Somebody just watching me like dance in the middle of the street, they're like, "What the hell is wrong with that guy?" Like that won't bother me, because like I know that like I'm not like, yes, I am maybe partially ridiculous, but that's not a problem as far as I'm concerned. Like if I was singing really badly or something like that, maybe, but even then, like, it's kind of live your life. How loud is that person singing? Does it really disturb you? Probably not. Then just leave that person be, kind of thing. So like that's those kind of small moments that I really enjoy. And that's one of the things why performance anxiety. I've never had to like stage in front of a lot of people, at least not on my own in front of a lot of people singing. But being in front of a crowd of people, or on a square center, on a town square, that has never been a problem for me. Now, obviously, I'll come back one day if I ever get an experience of me singing on a stage in front of people, and then I can talk for that. But obviously, for now, I can't talk for that. So yeah, that is, it's definitely something that like one doesn't start at the same level of comfort in front of people, but one definitely can work on it either way. And that's something that I have through singing in public. That is definitely something that I worked up my confidence, and I'm actually really happy that I have like behind me, kind of thing.
I'm just looking at the comments before they disappear. What Flynn is saying here is like, I want to talk. I haven't read any Shakespeare, and
yeah, me neither.
One thing I find very important to always repeat, in some sense, is there is no such thing as shame when it comes to reading books. I find you should just sing. We were talking about singing so long. Read whatever you want, and you'll get to. If you think it's important to read this book, you'll get them to get to them at some point. Just as like anything else, if you really want to do something, you'll get to it. And just because something is known as a classic or really famous or really important to read according to someone, you don't necessarily have to read it now, and you don't have to feel ashamed for not reading it right away. So yeah, I just wanted to.
Roisin, we might sing, but for reasons of not being the sound wouldn't be rendered at the same time, so we won't sing together if we do sing at all.
If we sing together,
like
we'll have
singing,
to
why not? But separately, we'll have to do it this time.
When we're both in Ireland, we can definitely sing together. We'll be able to do that some point next month, probably.
Yeah.
We'll both be in Ireland then. So
yeah. Awesome. As to answer Roisin, to comment on Roisin's comment, I'm scared of giant spiders in the second Harry Potter movie. I'm arachnophobic and insectophobic. It's something that I don't know why I am, because I remember being passionate about animals and insects in general. I really find them to be absolutely amazing creatures, both animals and insects. Now, I wouldn't, even back a couple of years when I wasn't scared, I wouldn't have had like a box with insects or spiders in it. I wasn't that like amazed by them. But like I am terrified of spiders right now, and I will try. Like if I'm conscious that there's a spider in my room when I'm like in my bedroom when I'm about to go to sleep, I will not be able to sleep. I will literally not be able to sleep. So yes, I can understand. But in the movie, it's kind of weird because like I saw that movie obviously before the third movie, and yet it wasn't the spiders that scared me. And I know that back then I'm pretty sure back then I was already arachnophobic. So it's kind of weird. Like certain things might not scare you as much, and yet like recently, maybe a month ago, I was in one of the apartments because I'm in a student accommodation with a bunch of different apartments in the same area. It's off campus, but it is student accommodation. And they were watching a horror movie, and although I'm 19 and like not gonna scream about spiders in general, I felt really uncomfortable because one of the things was a jump scare with a spider. Now there was a build up where you knew there was a spider coming, but it was a jump scare, and that just freaked me out. Like I literally couldn't deal with that. But in the second movie, it didn't scare me as much. Maybe because I knew that it was coming, and that I knew it wasn't a jump scare. It was just a kind of like, we're here. Oh, okay. Get out quick because we're gonna follow you, kind of thing. In that case, like there was no. I didn't feel as scared of it for some reason, maybe of how it was built up or something, but I didn't feel as scared of it in that film. Unicorns are better, yeah, mainly because they're not scary. Yeah, James Corden, carpool karaoke.
If a unicorn were to run at you, I mean, that's a spear on their head, basically. I'm just saying. I mean, a spider is small around. A unicorn could do some real damage.
Somehow, like I'm one of the ways of dying that I'm scared of is being stabbed, but yet being stabbed by a unicorn doesn't sound that bad. Somehow that the unicorn just makes that sound almost good.
Oh, I'm just looking at the comments. There's an interesting thing there. Two comments are saying different things, and it's interesting because it just shows how different people see the same situation in different ways. So Flynn is saying, singing on the street is scarier than a stage. People are more respectful when you're on a stage than random strangers in the streets are. And the same, and we've got just underneath, we've got Spencer's Library saying, the street, when people stop to watch you, you know that they're really enjoying the music. So that gives you her confidence.
Actually, yeah.
On the stage, I'm a wreck. On stage, I'm a wreck every single time. So that's an interesting point. Because
actually, yeah.
If you think about it, yes, if you're on stage, people may have paid a ticket to go to whatever concert you're part of. You might not be the main act, but still, like there's that side where okay, they're watching you, and they're not going to like shout at you that it's terrible, because there's kind of that stage kind of atmosphere where it's kind of they're listening to you, and there's not really an interaction. But at the same time, yes, if someone stops in the street to listen to you, they don't have to. They didn't pay for a ticket, so they don't feel obligated to stay there. And
Yeah.
if they're listening to you, then they probably think it's interesting, which, yes,
Yeah.
that would actually give you some confidence. At the same time, I feel that if I were sitting there and I noticed people stopping and starting to look at me, it would take me a moment to get used to it, and I may lose my my words once or twice for the lyrics or whatever.
But I feel like it's one of those things where there are numerous examples and arguments to be said for both sides of that. Like, as far as I'm concerned, I haven't experienced being on a stage, so I can't obviously talk for that, or at least I haven't experienced being on stage on my own. That does make a big difference. Being on a stage, I have been multiple times, but it's with a big crowd of people in a choir or something like that, and therefore it's a really different feeling. And you do hear the mix of voices in a choir, and the satisfaction of what the result is obviously completely different impression than if you hear yourself on your own. Because when you hear yourself on your own, you generally tend to hear your mistakes rather than what you're doing good, which I feel like that is definitely something that I don't have the experience of singing on my own on a stage to be able to say for, but singing in a street, sing in front of people, friends, anything like that I have done and I do regularly. And I feel like, at least for me personally, of course, I don't feel like that scares me as much. That I feel like, it's a very good point of, if people stop for you, they don't have to stop. They've no obligation to stop. It's not that they don't have anything to do in most likelihood. So I'd feel more inclined that I'm happy that they stop, kind of thing, and I'd feel more confident. I can understand that then when they kind of like, oh, someone stopped, kind of that reaction, when that is kind of like the initial reaction is finished, that then you kind of concentrate on singing again. And then you might be like, oh, okay, there I kind of hesitated or whatever. Different things that you might notice after, but in the immediate, at least for sure, I don't think, at least me personally, again, I don't think I would notice it if I was singing on a street. It can be scary to sing in front of people, but then again, like for example, Roisin, we both know that you have a very nice voice, so it's if you're confident enough that your voice is either very good, or even good enough to not appear ridiculous, then it's just a question of like, okay, how much do I believe that? Yes, I believe that I can do this. I believe that I have a voice that is good enough to do this. Okay, well, I'll do it, kind of thing. And then you have then people that will mostly support you. Most people will support you and say, wow, you did that really well. Maybe you can improve this or this, but they're not there to bring you down, kind of thing. And that's one of the reasons why I felt like I really enjoyed the second live stream, watching it again, because I was able to see like people come into the live stream, people from university, obviously people, members of my family, and then people from a game I play, and like it's really weird. People from really different areas come through and try and support you and like kind of like say, could you do this? Could you do that? And you feel really like this heartwarming feeling that really like gives you way more confidence. So yes, you can be scared and nervous being in a live stream or singing in a street or whatever other fear that could be. But then there are certain people that will tell you, look, you did that really well. And people that you know are there to support you come in and you're like, okay, I can do this, kind of thing. So I'd say singing in front of people, definitely something one has to practice. But definitely nothing that is like, I'm scared that will never change, kind of thing. So yeah.
Let me see. The interesting comment there about from Spencer's library about this singing, performing on the street versus on stage, and the difference between, in her case, when on the street being there with a friend versus being on your own on your stage, and it makes a big difference if you're on your own or if you're with other people, because it's
very big.
It's so different, because if you're just with one other person, and it's the same thing actually for a live stream. The first live stream I did, I was on my own, and even though there was a chat and all, and I was getting used to it, it's still easier because you can take a moment to recollect your ideas when the other person is talking. which is different, which is really good. It's very interesting to be able to just sit back for a moment, okay, think about it while the other person is talking. You're taking in what they're saying while just kind of building up, okay, this is what I think about this idea, or okay, I'll be able to say that about what they said. When you're talking with someone, that is really cool. And it's the same thing with performing. If you're performing with someone, find that then there's two of you and the attention's split between two people rather than just all on you.
That's like, when I hear that comment, I immediately think of civil and structural engineering. You limit the stress on one single support by multiple.
You barely notice that you're an engineering student.
No, it's like, I'm sure everybody thought I was an art student. Come on. Especially with that comment now.
Just saying. Friend saying, I was lucky enough to being part of the school band as a vocalist and performing with and for people I mostly knew. That helps a lot. It does help a lot being in a band, as we were just saying about the thing is, the attention is split in a sense. So you can still, I mean, okay, as a vocalist, you, to some extent, you still do take main stage, main focal point, but it is quite, it's quite interesting, definitely. I just saw Roshan's comment saying, do not talk physics now, please. It just came up, Roshin. It's part of the universe. So yeah, moving on.
Thoughts on YouTube undermines immediately. The next message there is plus physics. Clearly.
Prends pitié de moi. Oh, Roshin.
Take pity of me.
Came up. Your ears. Yeah, no,
don't worry.
Also, performing for people you know is quite nice because usually friends and family are very supportive. So
yeah, definitely. That is the first thing that reassures you when you are like in the live stream. That was one of the first things that reassured me when I saw the tag like AlffBooks and stuff like that. Like, you know immediately, like, okay, that person there, I can count on them to kind of make me feel like somebody's there kind of validating what I'm doing, but just in general bringing me up. So saying basically, like in one of the covers I was doing, you even commented and said basically that was like, that's cool and stuff like that. Different things like that, and I'm singing and obviously glimpse down and see that comment and I'm like, and that kind of takes pressure off of you, and it's something that's really good to see. And obviously, like, I know this because I'm part of different communities of different YouTubers. One of the YouTubers that I've watched a long time, and this also comes back to the point on humanity, like feeling humanity of people. Jacksepticeye and Markiplier, they're two gaming YouTubers, but they're two people that, like, that's the thing, is like, even that the way of saying it, they're two people and then they're YouTubers as far as I'm concerned. And being on their platform for a while means that I actually know this for sure. There are constantly and a huge amount of people that show a huge amount of support towards them. So, for example, Markiplier, a recent-ish video where he was trying to talk about different subjects. It happened in the last 2 years, basically, these things, where one of the ones was he was talking about respect. And yes, okay, he does make videos where he does goofy faces and talks stupid and stuff like that. Yeah, but that's part of like who he is, obviously. But then he's this possibility because he has been constantly showing his humanity to his followers. He has shown that, and so he can make this video entitled, for example, respect. That's one of the ones that comes to mind. And talk about something, a theme that is really serious. He's done the same thing recently about internet neutrality, for example, talking about that, saying there's links, there's where you can learn about it with people that explain it better than him. That's quoting, well, paraphrasing, but quoting what he said, basically saying, like, here you can find out more and in a better way what's this about. I also leave the links to where you can go to this to actively fight against them changing the net neutrality laws, things like that. And he has this genuine possibility of relying on his supporters to support him through anything he does, even when it's completely different to what he's used to, even if it's like completely different content, not just completely different game or anything like that, completely different content, he can rely on a certain amount of people. And that's why, like, one of the reasons why it's really awesome to have the support of your family behind is because as a small YouTuber, you don't have a big, massive platform of a huge amount of people supporting you, but you can rely on your family to support you for that. You also know that they, at least most of the time, they will tell you, look, this was good, that not so good, but that you can work on, so that's fine. No reason to stress about it, kind of thing. So that's something that I'm really happy and almost like definitely relieved that there is like my brother and other people there to basically say, look, this is this, that's that, good, kind of thing. A general feeling, this is a good thing you've done. You started the channel, good on you, kind of thing. Because that's also something, like the actual starting something is hard. And so when you have people saying, look, you started, great, work on this. That's one thing you could work on. And then you say, okay, well, the next 2 videos, I'm going to try and solve that. So the initial video, I had no outro. And I've now tried to in last video, I put outros. And then in, I think the last video, so yesterday's video, normally my outro, I changed it around because there's something that I learned where basically the actual link to latest video, things like that, you can only put in the 20 last seconds of a video, which I didn't know. But that's something that my brother told me, so that was fine. I learned about it. I was able to then write it down like for me as a list of things I had to work on or things I had to think about. And then I limited my outro as much as possible in the meantime, because I have to kind of find a new way of doing my outro so that I put all those links, talk about those links at the end of the outro. But in the immediate, I solved that problem by making a very short outro. It was like 23 seconds long or something. Different things like that. And that's the thing. Like, yes, for now I've only barely started, but because I have that support behind me from my brother and from the rest of my family, I can then go, okay, yeah, that I changed. This time I'll try and change this. Next time I'll focus on this other thing, etc., etc. So that's a really important and really valuable thing to have, is people there saying like, okay, that's that, this is this. You can do better, work on that kind of thing.
Just want to quickly say thank you to everyone who's been liking and commenting. It's nice to be able to talk with you guys. I would like to say goodnight to Roisin. I did post quickly in chat there while Jonathan was talking, but she has to head off to bed because she is at 5:30 in the morning to go to school.
Yeah,
so,
that's the perks of living not too close.
Yeah. So yeah, just wanted to add that quickly there. Another thing I wanted to quickly note about preparing videos and things like that. Here, I have an example here. Sometimes when you're preparing video, you don't need to write much, and sometimes you need to write a lot. So here is an example of one where I didn't have to write too much. So each one of these thirds of a page is actually, well, was initially just one video, each video, so 3 different videos on the page here. And I find that it's always good to just have a little few notes, so you have the things written down that you really need. So what will the channel be based on? So Jonathan is doing a singing channel. He actually started a week ago, and he will, so basically answering the comment there.
Yes.
So he actually started a week ago, has been posting covers for the past week, actually pretty much every day. On Monday last week he didn't post a video, but on Tuesday posted a video saying that until the end of the year he'll be posting daily, which in itself is a crazy amount of work. There is a card on this video normally where you can find his channel, or you can go across to it at the end of the live stream. There's also a link in the description. So yeah. You can go over to his channel whenever.
Sword, by the way, Sword is someone that I knew through a game, and he's also been very supportive towards me. So thank you a lot. So yeah, that's the kind of thing. It's like that's what I was saying just earlier. Is like you can count on your family for that support, but you find that there's always people somewhere that you might not expect that from them, but that you notice that they support you, and some of them will literally go out of their way to show that they want to like support what you're doing, in your new efforts or whatever, and tell you, oh, this is something you can do, this is whatever other thing you can do that you didn't do this time, but this could make a big difference. And then obviously that kind of also comes back to the not taking yourself too seriously. If you accept the criticism, then you can definitely improve, like, significantly. So yeah, for like people like Sword, I wasn't expecting anything from any support from him, and I was overwhelmingly thrilled to see anything coming my way there. So that was thanks again, Sword. So yeah, that's just random support that you don't expect, but that you really do value, and it does definitely grow you as a YouTuber in this case, but also as a person, obviously. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're talking about maybe sing earlier on. So I mean, you don't have to, but we can definitely do some singing. So you can kind of show off what you kind of do on your channel. You could
Yeah.
choose one. You could choose one of the songs that you covered either today or last time, or just something else. So
Yeah.
it's up to you. Take a moment to think about it.
That's exactly what I meant in the comments right now, Sword. Hey, I love how close you are as brothers. As I said, if you need any help with anything YouTube related, such as channel art, editing, etc., let me know. Thanks again. That is exactly what I meant with showing support, going out of your way to be supportive. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Obviously, being close as brothers, that is really helpful. When one is older, it is even more the case, because obviously one can't be brothers without a certain amount of conflict. But when one does grow older, one does notice that fighting over a stupid little detail, well, it's maybe not the best thing one can do, and one can learn from each other a lot. So like, that is like, yeah, we are close as brothers now. It is also there's different common points that one finds now more than one knew about before. Both of us obviously now are YouTubers, obviously not at all the same content or the same level of being a YouTuber, but it is
YouTuber, in my opinion.
There is still a certain thing, like I know that at certain points through me watching videos, I know that numbers do get to people's heads. And one strives as much as possible to go against it by trying to imagine the number. It's kind of crazy, because right now, as far as just a second ago was concerned, or whatever, had like 19 or 20 subscribers. Like it's kind of weird to think that 20 people or whatever found that my channel is worth it, and it's not a huge amount of people.
It's
still, yeah, it is basically a classroom.
It's like a classroom of people who want to be there.
Yeah, fair point. But yeah, that is the thing. And on your channel, you're almost at 1,500 people. That's what is it? Like 2.5 times bigger than the secondary school that you were in. And as far as we're concerned, that is like that is a secondary school. We never got to speak to everyone that was there.
It's actually closer to 3 times, because secondary school is close to 500.
Oh, so I thought it was 600-ish. That's why I was thinking that. But yeah, but though, to be seriously though, that is the point. Like, yeah, like I was there 4 years, you were there for 7 years, and yet we never got to speak to everyone. It seems obvious that one doesn't speak because one has classes and everything. But that's trying to imagine the number, and then being like, oh, yeah, but like, how can I understand that number, kind of thing. And so it's kind of weird. So that's when you like see like the support that you can get, in a small number, put in inverted commas, even though like 20 people objectively isn't a lot, but it is still, as you said, a classroom worth of people that actually follow you and try to support you. So that is it's really like something that like you find support in that, and it's really something that's really that I can really appreciate, even though I, inverted commas, only have 20 people. It's really weird.
It's still really cool. 20 people.
Yeah, it
especially
is
because
really cool. I'm so
you
happy.
you started a week ago, so the thing is, 20
Yeah,
people
yeah,
in a week
yeah,
is 20 active people. They've subscribed in the last week, and you've been
yeah,
posting every day, so they haven't had a chance yet to not
yeah,
be an active subscriber. So
yeah,
they've
yeah,
just
definitely.
very interesting. In my case, because I started six years ago, over 6 years ago, I know that some of the subscribers I have are people who are no longer really watching YouTube as much, or maybe just don't have as much time because of exams, because of jobs, because of moving. There's different things that just affect you in some sense that will make you less active. And I know that a good portion of the subscriber base are not as active, partly because also I've been inactive. Over 6 years, there's a lot of room for either being sick or just being really tired 1 week or a month, or having exams that last for a month and you just have no time to make a video that month. Or just you skip a week and then you've kind of fallen into a laziness cycle of 2-3 months. That's happened. Those kind of things happen. They happen, and those things would cause more inactive subscribers. So in a sense, having 100% of your subscribers being active and watching your content and interacting in the sense, maybe not all of them commenting, but it is really cool. It's something that, I wouldn't mind all my subscribers being really active on all my videos, but it's just it's less likely to happen over that much over the difference in time as well. I'm just looking at the comments by Flynn. So he's saying, I'm seeing so many parallels this evening between you two and my sister and me. My sister has very similar concerns about starting YouTube in the beginning, and by now we're both very active. She's 11K subs now, so talk about out of my league. But oh well, we still help each other with everything. Well, helping each other with everything is really cool.
That's the thing. Is like it's also the reason that, like, it's obviously I think a lot about numbers. I enjoy numbers a lot, playing around with numbers and stuff. So when I think of like the amount of subscribers that I have relative to the amount of subscribers that Stephen has, he's got like 74 or 5 times more subscribers than I have, which when you put it that way is a crazy ratio. But when you put it in terms of the actual difference in numbers, it's only 1,470 people or something. Like it, that is a weird way to put it. That is a really weird way to put it, because as far as like my brain would understand it, 75 times more sounds way more impressive than 1,477 times the subscribers more. Sorry, it's different things like
interesting because it's the same thing, even though
it's a bigger number. It's a bigger number, and yet it's my brain, like that's how I understand those numbers.
One of the interesting
it's really
things,
weird.
That I've noticed is that I was considering when I reached 505 subscribers. Specifically 505. That's the capacity of the largest lecture theater in my university. Okay. That lecture theater to me is absolutely ginormous. The idea that I can fill that lecture theater, or that I could fill the lecture theater completely with people who would subscribe to my content at some point in time is mind-blowing. And I'm now getting close to 3 times that. It's insane just to consider the I'm just I can fill the university with people who would like to watch my content 3 times over. Mind-blowing. But it's just at some point it's really hard to imagine, but it is really at some point, like it starts pretty soon. Like anything over a classroom or 100 people, you really can't really imagine that well.
That's the recently I was at an event in Dublin. I went up to Dublin for an event where Jacksepticeye was at that event with the Game Grumps, the two other YouTubers, 2 brothers that are YouTubers, and that event was in Dublin, and there were 1,700 people there. Now, as of right now, he's got over 17 million subscribers, Jacksepticeye. But that means that basically he could do that event, an event of that size, with each time different people from his subscriber base 10,000 times, and he would only barely get to that. Like it's a ridiculous. It is ridiculous because, like, we were there for 2.5, almost 3 hours at that event, and although we were as groups obviously interacting with them, and certain individuals were able to go on stage to play games with them, representing our group individually, like, and stuff like that. Although we were involved that way, individually, we were obviously nowhere close to be able to interact, every single one of us, with any of them or either of them. And we were there for 2.5, 3 hours. And then to think, not only that, but then he would have to do that 10,000 times. So that's when you realize how crazy those numbers are.
I think there's a really good example here.
It's such a weird.
So you're talking about numbers.
Obviously, he's a big YouTuber, so it's very different.
But here's a really good example that Flynn put. 6,000 people is a crazy amount of subs. If you stack 6,000 people on top of each other, they will reach all the way to the moon. I mean, I think also back, I'm not 100% sure about that. I don't know. I think I've heard things like that. If people hold hands like the whole way to the moon, I don't know the exact numbers, but I know it is something like that, and isn't a ridiculously large number. But if it's just 6,000, like, that's so ridiculously low. I mean,
it's I don't know. But yeah, no, like, I am not surprised. Different things yes, you can do that by stretching out, because there you're considering every single individual. But then again, if you the reason why bigger numbers kind of get to your head is because you don't see them individually anymore. You see them as a stack of people, kind of thing. And that's one thing. Is I saw it was in Vsauce, one of Vsauce's video recently. Well, recently, I watch his videos again sometimes, so I saw it recently again. But that's not the point. One of the things he said was, if you stacked the whole amount of people in the world, so 7 billion people, in a cone-shaped thing, they would height-wise barely fill the Grand Canyon, which is ridiculous. It's such a ridiculous idea. But that's when you put them all together as 7 billion people, the number kind of thing. And then you don't really think of the individual anymore. Whereas in the example with going to the moon, like holding hands, that is the perfect example. There you're thinking the individual person will take up this much space. That's how much they will contribute to this. And altogether, it makes a huge, impressive thing with relatively, in terms of YouTube subscribers, relatively small number. But that's when you learn to appreciate. When you try to start and think individually, this is how much they do contribute. This is the amount of people that have decided to subscribe. That is a really good thing. That can make a really amazing thing. It's kind of like, depending on how you think of it, the number will appear really radically different.
Yeah. Another interesting comment there by Flynn is, well, it's all okay when you look at my first channel. I did so much bad content, but still got to 300 subs eventually, and then made a new main channel from scratch. I actually did exactly the same thing, with exactly the same numbers. So, like, I got to 300 subscribers on my old channel, and then I actually got rid of that channel and started from scratch again. So pretty much it's just exactly the same thing. And that was back in 2012,
I think? Was it around there?
12, 13, yeah. It was
around there.
Because in 2013, it was August 2013 where I started this channel. So 4 years ago, I started this channel. 2 years before that, I started my first channel. So I did start my first channel. I posted my first video on the first channel. And then it was another year before that, well, year and a half before that, that I actually created the channel and started watching and commenting on videos and wanting to start a channel.
Yeah, because that's like the channel that I have right now. Joined 23rd of December 2013. Like, that's the thing. Like, the channel has been up for literally years, and for various reasons of me not feeling like okay with putting up a video, I have not gotten around to that till now. But now I'm absolutely thrilled that I did start. And although I do have exams coming up in the next 2 weeks, study week starting Monday, that's the study week, and then exam week. Like, it in terms of when to start, it's a horrendous time to start. But as far as I'm concerned, but objectively it's a horrendous time to start. But as far as I'm concerned, if I manage to keep up that rhythm of one video a day till the end of this year, calendar year, then I say I will be able to put oblige myself to any schedule I decide to put up. Now, obviously, depending on the schedule you put, you have more or less effort to put in. I'd say if I want to put up covers to editing them myself, but like basically the work being mostly done by myself, if I were to do that and higher quality videos with music behind, etc., that obviously will take longer. So it would be absolutely crazy for me to do that in one day. So obviously at that point, I will bring the rhythm down. But one of the main reasons for bringing me to that rhythm of one video a day is so that I can think, look, I was able to do it one video a day. Like the total amount that I put in for 1 week, if I did that for one video, that's maybe one very good video. So like I'm thinking of it that way. Like, so that's definitely something that I'll work at. For 2018, obviously.
There's an interesting comment there from Flynn about. I think it's because when you think of 1 million people, you're more likely to compare it to the population of countries rather than a classroom, for example. Interesting thing that I actually do, which is related to countries, is I keep track of every time I reach a milestone. But I have two types of milestones. Firstly, every kind of whole number, so 100, 200, up to 1,000, all of them, and then 1,000, 1,100, up to 2,000, all of the kind of hundreds. But then I guess at some point, maybe when I get to 10,000, I'll take all, just, when I get to 10,000, someday.
Statistically, it's unavoidable almost.
Not if I continue for the next 50 years. There'll be loads of dead accounts, but it's possible.
Sure.
If enough people forget their passwords and create another account and subscribe to me. But yeah, basically, if so where was it there? Yeah, the other thing that I do is I add the countries. So I know that the current population of the Vatican is 786. So yeah, 786 is the population of Vatican, and then the next country up is 1,300. I've forgotten the name of the country, and the next one is 1,600 and something. No, or is it 2,000? I think it's 1,600. But basically, I'm keeping track of that because I find, to a certain extent, I find it humbling, the idea that I have as many people subscribe to me as some countries have as population. I find the idea that that is the case is mind-blowing in itself. Yeah, that's crazy.
And the idea, kind of like the idea of the classroom of people that actually want to be there. And the same thing, it's the population of a country where every inhabitant actually wants you there.
It's like basically having a whole country where people are like
vote to stay in.
Using my banner as a flag or something like that, that would be insane. I was just commenting there because Flynn is just saying that has to get to bed because he just fixed her sleeping schedule and doesn't want to mess it up again. Makes sense.
Fair enough. Fair point.
Okay. So, well, yes. Good night to you, Flynn, and thank you. My brother is doing singing on his channel, and it's also just like to let you know, hey, you can go check out his channel. The link is in the description and as well as the card. So you can just go on, click over to his channel and check out what you see. And if you like it, feel free to subscribe. He just started out a week ago. So in a sense, this is a plug for his channel. And it's really fun to have him on, talk about what his experience was starting out a channel. And also, just random other things that came up in the discussion. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you have any comments on what we could do next time, like have him on again in future and just talk about something else or anything,
and maybe even suggest songs.
Even suggest songs that we could cover, only that we probably might do singing live streams on his channel rather than here. Not because I don't want to do them here, because as that is what his channel is specifically about, I think it just fits in well. and could be really
Yeah.
fun to do. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed watching this. Hope you have a fantastic week. See you next week.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.